Well, how long do you think it would take for someone to get training, pardon me, in BIM?
Well, as you said before, training is available often through the companies Autodesk or Bentley who provide the software, colleges, community college, online programs. I think if you were to go through the training, it's reasonable to expect that within maybe 4 to 8 weeks, depending on comfort level with computers and such, you could be up to speed enough that you could be productive in a BIM environment. You could help somebody out. And then I think you start to build from there. But to be up to speed enough to be able to be productive in the environment, a class and maybe 1 to 2 months, that's more than what our new staff that joins our firm gets to get up to speed. And I think that's a reasonable amount of time if you can commit to really trying to learn the software and really engage in the process. I think that's probably a good estimate.
At your company, you actually have a boot camp here that you work with people coming in.
We do. We have about a 2-week boot camp to get people very quickly up to speed. And it's like the old saying, you know, you use it or you lose it. When you get into it real quick and then you start using it, the more you practice, the more you use it, the quicker you get up to speed, and certainly the more you retain it. So we take about 2 weeks of intense training, and then our new staff members are usually up to speed enough where they can be real productive on projects, and they're making things happen. And as long as they keep using the software and they keep engaged in it, their knowledge just grows.
Excellent. Yeah. And what kind of PC requirements do you think somebody might have to consider?
Yeah, it's you know, it's not rocket science, but it's not a basic everyday home computer. You probably are looking for a computer that is designed for advanced graphics or video capability. So that's going to mean something like very fast processors. It's going to be maximum amount of memory. Still something that you can probably buy at an appliance store or a local retailer, but it wouldn't be the basic model. It would be the one for, as I said, advanced graphics, lots of memory, lots of processor speed, because the files, the BIM files themselves, as the intelligence gets baked in, those files become very large. You just don't want to find yourself waiting 2, 3, 4 minutes for files to open and shut down.
Or refresh even.
Absolutely.
Which is very important. I mean, shutting down and opening is one thing, but as you're working, if you make a correction on a particular area, and you hit the refresh button, you don't want to be there minute after minute, and then, oh, I got to change it, and again, it's the same problem. So
a low-grade home computer could be very frustrating and a lot of waiting. An upgrade to something a little more advanced, graphics and video capability, and you should have no problem at all.
Okay. Earlier we mentioned what kinds of services, types of business they might generate. I had one question I just thought of. If a service-disabled veteran started a business, do you think he could partner with larger firms like yours, you know, going after certain contracts and maybe use you as support, maybe to do some backup, some drawing support, maybe even design support, whatever? How does that
Absolutely.
strike you?
Well, I think there's a couple of issues. One is what we would consider an overflow issue. There's no business that wants to react to workload by hiring people and then laying people off, and hiring people and laying people off. And when work comes and goes in an unpredictable fashion, the way it does in construction, you're often faced with that. We partner with firms to help us manage overflow work so that we don't have to do that. We can keep a very stable staff, but we also have partners out there who can help us and work with us and supplement our staff when our workload becomes such that our response time is challenged. So in one sense, you know, certainly from an overflow standpoint, there are opportunities. And then there are certain types of projects that do have minority business enterprise requirements and such. And I think we also look for partners in those scenarios as well. And a veteran-owned business certainly would qualify in that regard.
Yeah.
So there would be advantages there as well in partnering. The way that the industry seems to work now is projects are complex and there are lots of different perspectives, and it's much more common to have a team of players come together and address a project rather than one firm that can do it all. It's very common to have a team working on a project to deliver all of the services and all of the capabilities that that project needs. And certainly there's more than enough room on that team for building information modelers and people who are doing this kind of thing. It certainly is needed, and the team approach is something that's very feasible and actually very common in the industry.
Oh, good, good. Okay, I guess in closing, we're going to kind of get your thoughts as to where the actual future of BIM is going. I mean, do you have a feel of where we are right now in the industry percent-wise? I mean, as in terms of how it's being used?
Yeah, you know, like most computer applications, we're probably 2-3% down the road that we're on right now.
2-3%?
Yeah, so I mean, you can look ahead and you can say, well, you know, if I could create a building information model and I can import climatic data into that model, I might be able to predict what the heating loads, what the cooling loads might be. I might be able to predict what the wind loads might be, so I could design in resistance systems for tornadoes and hurricanes and such. You start to embed utility information, and you can start to track your energy usage in there. We talked about barcoding and being able to track equipment, and then you look beyond, and every building that's designed and constructed is really part of something bigger. It may be part of a campus, it may be part of a community, it may be part of a city, and it's not going to be long before we expand our models to not just include a building, but rather a campus or a community or a city. I think this has the ability to grow, to really help the industry. It already has the intelligence to tell you what materials you would need to build. It can probably order those materials for you, tell you what it's going to cost. But when we look at integrating that at a wider scale, we're going to be able to see what the environmental impacts, the relationships with other buildings, be able to do this quickly and at less cost. And that's going to make it just that much easier for us to advance the development of urban areas, to advance the development of cities, and to do it in a cost-effective manner. And I think right now, as businesses look, being cost-effective is at the very top of most of their lists of priorities.
Yeah, I heard you mention climate data. Where would they get that from?
Well, right now, the federal government tracks all of that. The National Weather Service tracks all of it, and it is available. If you go online and you search, you can find all of the climatic data you would want. The question is, all this data is out there, what do we have to do to get it embedded into a building information model in an integrated way so we can use it to our advantage? I think that's where the opportunities are going to be, as we figure out how to take data that's available, embed it in the model, and use it to our advantage. We're not very far down the road now, but you can see it's growing exponentially, and with that growth will come the business opportunity of being involved in building information modeling.
Yeah, and when you say business opportunities, even in the future, pardon me, a veteran might actually do the monitoring of systems for a company or that type of thing.
Oh, certainly. I think it somewhat becomes personal choice. How involved that a veteran wanted to become in a project. It might be different for different people and different companies, but the opportunities to serve the industry, to serve building owners down the line, certainly is going to be there, and there will be more opportunities, not less. That's
right.
For sure.
And one of the other things might be they'd actually help update a building design. You mentioned buildings last so long.
Oh, sure. An average building might last 40 or 50 years, and I can tell you that most of those buildings undergo continuous changes. Every 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, something is changing, something is being renovated, and if we don't work to keep the models up to date, then they become antiquated and they stop being usable for us. All of that benefit that we were talking about suddenly falls to the wayside. So building owners over the life of a building will need people to support them to keep the models up to date, to modify the models as their buildings change. Right. The model has to change right along with it for it to stay useful. Yeah. So that, again, it's a business opportunity, and as BIM becomes more widely used out in our communities, out in the world, the opportunity to work in the BIM environment will also grow.
Excellent. Well, Mike, I think we're kind of done here. You answered a lot of nice questions for us. I hope our viewers are finding out an opportunity that they never thought about before. And I would like to add in closing here, Mike's dad is a combat veteran from the Army, World War II, Europe, 4th Armored Division, pardon me. And that's one of the reasons why he wanted to help us out here. Mike, thank you very much for your time.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.